From Arkansas's streaming news leader, this is THV 11 Morning News at 6.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us on THV 11, streaming on your TV with THV 11 Plus. I'm Karen Fuller.
I'm Hayden Balgavy. Let's send it over to meteorologist Tracy Bean joining us with the first check of the forecast. And we have seen that map from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and now Thursday once again.
I know. We are going to see some changes as we're heading into tomorrow. But today we still have our weather impact alert for that dangerous heat. And you know this map all too well. This, of course, is our extreme heat warning. River Valley, Central Arkansas, Eastern Arkansas. Same as we had for the most part yesterday, but we are seeing all of Arkansas, the rest of it, under that heat advisory. So that's going to be from noon until 9 p.m. this evening. We are starting the day off with a beautiful sunrise, a few clouds out there this morning. Looking at that sunrise here in just a few minutes around 6:13 and that sunset at 8:16. But keep in mind, it's still going to be very warm even after sunset. The heat index value is going to still be above 100 degrees. Right now it is 77 and we got calm winds and that heat index not too bad. 78 as we're heading through the rest of the state, taking a look, mainly 70s across the state. We've got a few outliers here with a few of these 60s here, and again, just a lot of 70s, but we're going to warm up quickly. We'll talk about your hour-by-hour forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Tracy, thank you. Developing right now, Brian Coberger has been sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences for the 2022 murders of 4 University of Idaho students. Investigators releasing new details, including one victim stabbed over 50 times and chilling audio of the killer reassuring a roommate. Now, Coberger pleading guilty earlier this month, avoiding the death penalty, but showing no remorse in court. At the sentencing, victims' families and surviving roommates expressing anger, sorrow, even forgiveness.
You're a delusional, pathetic, hypochondriac loser.
What he did shattered me in places I didn't know could break.
An emotional judge, Stephen Hippler, sentencing the killer to 4 consecutive life sentences. Coberger waiving his right to appeal his sentence.
And at least 7 people are arrested in connection with a sex trafficking ring in Alabama. The Bibb County Sheriff's Office says the abuse took place inside this underground storm shelter. At least 10 victims are identified so far, with ages ranging from 3 to 15 years old. And some of the children's own parents are among the suspects. Authorities say they believe more victims are out there and more arrests are coming. They say suspects would pay for so-called appointments to abuse the children in the underground bunker. The investigation started in February after reports of possible sexual abuse.
An Arkansas Board of Corrections member is pushing back on the plan for a new 3,000-bed prison in Franklin County, sharing his concerns directly with state lawmakers. In an email, Lee Watson says he believes smaller regional facilities make more sense, especially with growing resistance from people who live near those proposed sites. Watson argues overcrowding in local jails has stayed stable and suggests a prison half that size could meet the need. Now, he wants the state to revisit an earlier plan to expand the prison at Calico Rock and add a new unit in Northwest Arkansas. Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders disagrees, pointing to population growth and the tougher sentencing guidelines under the Our Protect Act passed 2 years ago. Watson clarified he's speaking only for himself. So far, no other board members have responded publicly. People living in Pine Bluff are continuing their mission to prevent violence in their community despite a tragic setback.
2 weekend shootings ended the city's nearly 2-year streak without a juvenile homicide. THV 11's Tamer Knight shows us the plan moving forward.
500 some days without a juvenile, 60 some days without adults, but things do happen. We can't control people's actions, but we can, like you say, control the consequences.
Pine Bluff city officials say they have seen great success with new initiatives to stop the bleeding in their community.
People were surprised and people felt like 1 murder is too many, 2 was outrageous, and it was.
But their record-breaking group violence intervention campaign is reset after a 14-year-old juvenile and 36-year-old Marquis Avery were killed in 2 separate shootings over the weekend. On Tuesday, city leaders met with the community to discuss the tragedies.
And it's just going to take time. We didn't get here overnight, and we're not going to stop it from overnight. So we're going to put in the work that we need to do, and we're going to see the results. It might not be tomorrow, it might not be the next day, but we're going to see it.
So we asked Mayor Vivian Flowers, how will the city move forward?
What we saw this weekend is absolutely something that does not define Pine Bluff, but I don't know that it calls for us to look at it as we have to rebuild from there. I think that when we look at our law enforcement, when we look at our community, when we look at GVI, when we look at our faith-based organizations, and we look at our commitment to public safety, we've been rebuilding and we've seen results from that, and we continue to address crime, whether it's make arrests, whether it's protect people, whether it's engage in prevention. And when tragedy strikes, we respond.
And while it's a sad setback for the GVI program and Pine Bluff community, Director Kevin Crumpton wants to refocus the city's attention during this time.
We encourage the city to focus on to those that have lost their loved ones. We have to rebuild and build them up. We're going to still continue to throw out our message to stay safe, stay alive, and stay free.
Now, the Pine Bluff Police Interim Chief Shirley Warrior says she's proud of her department's response and the response of the community. Arrests have been made in both cases, and a total of 3 suspects so far. For THV 11 News, I'm Tamer Knight.
All right, Tamer, thank you so much for that update from Jefferson County.
Pulaski County officials are sounding the alarm about a wave of scams that have already tricked several residents.
The sheriff's office says scammers are posing as deputies, calling people and demanding money to avoid being arrested.
Also happening, the county clerk's office reports a similar scam with callers falsely claiming that you've missed jury duty and they're asking for your personal information.
Because the scams have become so widespread, officials are now urging anyone who receives a suspicious call or falls victim to contact law enforcement right away.
The calls themselves are a red flag, because if it's related to jury duty, then you're summoned through the U.S. mail. They typically do not make any type of calls, and even if they were, it wouldn't be to, give out any of your personal information.
When they're calling you and they're starting demanding money or whatever, hang up and then call your local authorities.
You can find more details on how to report these scams on our website, thv11.com.
It is now 6:07. Cancer care providers are working to expand access to colorectal screenings for people living in rural parts of Arkansas. This initiative comes from UAMS and the Rockefeller Cancer Institute, based on clear evidence that lower GI cancers are highly treatable when caught early. However, access to those screenings remains a barrier in our state. One reason so many cases are diagnosed at later, more dangerous stages. So to address that, UAMS is teaming up with OurCare to bring early detection efforts to communities where screening rates are low. The focus is on reaching people between the ages of 45 and 75, and their goal is to screen the majority of eligible patients during the first year of the partnership.
Arkansas could face a major budget hit under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act if its SNAP payment error rate does not improve. Now, for the first time in the SNAP's 86-year history, the law shifts benefit costs to states, and Arkansas's error rate already exceeds the federal limit. A state's share depends on how often it mispays benefits, measured by its error rate. If Arkansas's rate stays high, it could owe up to $100 million, cutting into its shrinking surplus and straining programs for low-income families. Starting in fiscal year 2028, states with error rates above 6% must pay part of SNAP benefits. Now, advocates warn this could worsen food insecurity in one of the nation's most vulnerable states.
Let's check back in with meteorologist Tracy Bean now and the forecast to help you plan your Thursday.
Well, we're looking at another very, very hot day, and those dangerous temperatures are going to continue. 100 possibly here in central Arkansas. You can see across the state there's plenty of those to go around. We're going to see those dangerous heat indexes as we're heading into the afternoon. From noon to 9 p.m. we could see those heat indexes right around 107 around 3 p.m. So again, that weather impact alert, making sure we are staying safe, staying hydrated, keeping an eye on each other. Tomorrow we're going to see those temperatures go down just a little bit, only to 97, so it's still going to be very warm. We'll talk about the weekend and the chance for a little rain coming up in my forecast in just a few minutes.